Here's one of the latest interviews from Rock and Metal Revival. If you want to hear the whole show, go to rmrshow.com. There's brand new music from the band Monster Truck from their brand new album called Sittin' Heavy, just hitting stores, called Don't Tell Me How to Live. And Jerry, you know what a big Monster Truck fan I am.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And it is good to have on the show with us guitarist Jeremy Widerman, I should say, right? Did I get that right?
You got it.
All right.
You got it.
From Monster Truck. Man, welcome back to the show.
Yeah, man, thanks for having me.
Hey, I see that after the CD was released on February 19th, and you guys are already number 3 on the charts in Canada. You got to be pretty proud about that.
Yeah, you see who's number 4?
No, who?
Bieber.
Oh shit!
Hey, you beat Bieber, man.
Hey.
That's cool.
Yeah, for 1 week, the good guys win.
beating the Bieber.
There you go.
Isn't that something? Isn't that called something?
Yeah.
Beating the Bieber?
Yeah. Hey, now, your last album, Curiosity, won you guys a Juno Award, and which I know that's a pretty high honor in the Canadian music industry. Now, when you went in to record Sittin' Heavy, did you go in with the influences, if it isn't broke, don't fix it?
Yeah, that was actually kind of the mandate for a lot of the thinking behind working on that album. It was kind of a two-way thing. It was really about making sure we didn't change too much, but at the same time we wanted to have a little bit of an evolution there, so we didn't want to make the same record twice. So I was kind of walking that line, like really just taking what worked off Curiosity and just kind of honing it down and kind of extrapolating out from that a bit.
Well, I see you guys are going to be heading out on the road with Volbeat and Black Stone Cherry. Are you surprised at the number of fans you already have in the U.S.?
The U.S. has been easily the hardest place we've had to get momentum going. So at this point right now, it still feels like an uphill climb. We've got definitely little pockets here and there that it really kind of gives us the encouragement to kind of go forth and do these shows. But as far as the worldwide is concerned, it's been the toughest place for us to get momentum going, and it's just a place we have to do a lot of work still.
Well, why do you think that is? Do you think it's because the radio industry here in the U.S. is owned by about 4 or 5 conglomerates?
We have the same thing in Canada, and that doesn't seem to be an issue in Canada. I think it really just has to do with the sheer size of the country. Mm-hmm. I think you've got a country there that is, it's United States of America, but there's each area is its own thing. You've got the West Coast, which is completely separate from the East. You've got, what Los Angeles is listening to is not necessarily what New York is listening to, is not necessarily what Texas is listening to, is not what Seattle's listening to. So you almost have to approach them all kind of as separate entities in a way. And it's, it's 10 times as big as Canada, so you have to imagine you have to put in maybe 10 times the amount of work, So, we had a little bit of an easier going in UK and Europe, but with America, we're getting ready to put that work in now. We're starting to see a little bit of traction on the first single at radio, and we just got to keep keep pushing on it because it is showing promise, and we are starting to get those opening slot tours on those big name tours that really kind of move the dial and help us kind of grow the band.
So who's going to be on the bill when you're in the States touring this time?
Well, that's the thing is this tour we're doing coming up is just about got a little bit of everything. We're hitting all those big festivals, Northern Invasion, Carolina Rebellion, Rock on the Range, and then we're also doing all those dates with Volbeat and Black Stone. Then we're doing a couple dates with just Black Stone. We're doing a show with Rob Zombie. We're doing shows with Shinedown. And then we're doing our own headline shows, and it's all kind of mixed together in this big melting pot of a tour that we're going to do over 6 weeks.
Well, it's really cool that, bands like you and Black Stone Cherry here in the Midwest, you guys, people just love it, and I see it. But, like, you guys go to Europe, and you're playing in front of 15,000, 20,000 people, and the people are losing their minds. It just surprises me that bands like you guys aren't bigger here in the States.
Yeah, and there's a certain element to that I don't understand. All that stuff I just said earlier about the diversity and the size is definitely part of the case. Wow, a clock just fell on my acoustic guitar.
Shit!
But there's something else going on there that I don't understand. And then even when I talk to people from the U.S. in the radio industry. I think everyone's aware that there's a little bit of a hump there for bands like us and them, and we're not too sure what it is, and it's hard to explain. And you'd probably have to sit down and do you know, you'd probably do a doctorate
Exactly.
on figuring out what's going on there. But you know, we try not to think about it too much, and we're just really trying to keep doing what we're doing. And you know, we are seeing progress. It's just been a lot slower than in other markets, but you know, I think that at the end of the day, the work, you know, it'll be worth the work, you know, in the long run.
Now, Jeremy, I told you before, and I'm not going to keep it. You know, I'm a big fan, and I'm getting to finally get to see you on the spring run of tours. For somebody like me who hasn't seen you guys live, what should I expect to see when I go out and see Monster Truck in concert?
You know, man, it's just a rock and roll show. You know, it's a high energy rock and roll show, and I think it's weird because I feel like that answer is not good enough, but I think it's only because a lot of other people would use that answer for the same question, but they're not telling the whole truth. You know, there's a lot of people out there throwing that word around. You know, that it's. I don't feel it's as suiting as it is for us. You know, we are a rock and roll band. We play rock and roll music. We put on a rock and roll show, and it's. You know, I think people who know what that really means will agree with me when they come to see the concert.
So you're saying there's not a lot of backing tracks and sound effects and that background vocals that are piped in. I'm not going to get any of that.
Not a lick of it.
Thank God.
I mean, it's just four friends playing rock music. It's as timeless as it ever was, and I think that's been an asset for us. No matter what territory you look at, it's always something that served us well, and it's honestly a huge part of the reason that we've gotten a lot of the opening slots that we've gotten. You know, whether it's Slash or Alice in Chains, I think they recognize that kind of authenticity, and then it kind of trickles down through, you know, word of mouth to the crew members and other bands, and you know, I think we're an easy band to be on the road with, and it just makes for you know, more opportunities down the road.
So, are there any tracks on the new album you think would have benefited from adding some cowbell?
Possibly, yeah. Like the song we're gonna play next, I think we could have probably maybe slipped a cowbell in there, maybe.
Maybe got Will Ferrell to come out and
see. That's what's gonna break you guys in the U.S., bro. You need to
only if it was Will Ferrell. If it was Will Ferrell, then I think that would have been. We might have had a number one on our hands there.
or just the intro, just for the intro.
Yeah, in Wisconsin, that makes you huge right away. Here,
yeah, because we think cheese is coming, cows and stuff.
Yeah,
you know?
You got to check a song out. You got to check a song out by a Canadian band, friends of ours, the Standstills. They got a song called New Orleans. You guys should check that out. It's got enough cowbell in it for even Will Ferrell.
Nice.
Write that down. We gotta check that out. Well, Jeremy, if people want to keep up to date with what's going on with Monster Truck, and I just saw today that you had released the tour dates for later in the spring, and I got to say, I love the Facebook time thing you guys do. That's awesome.
Oh yeah. The mentions.
Yeah.
We're actually going to be doing one this afternoon too, heading into Edmonton right now. But yeah, it's something that we've just seen a lot of traction from, and a lot of people kind of get into it, and it allows kind of a portal for fans to kind of communicate with the band in real time, and you know, get a live glimpse of what we're up to. So it's fun for everyone.
So give everybody the idea where they can check out Monster Truck, your website, and
yeah. Well, I mean, at the end of the day, I know everyone's got their own favorites for social media, but if you want to check everything out, Monster Truck, it's ilovemonstertruck.com, and it's kind of a jumping off point to all the other you know, social media, and you know, you get ticket links and music videos, everything you need right from ilovemonstertruck.com.
Excellent. Well, we're going to spin another tune. This one's called For the People. You want to tell us a little bit about this one?
Should I add cowbell?
Yeah, if you want to. I wouldn't stop it. I wouldn't dare. This is the track that we kind of wrote right at the end of the recession, man. That came out of, you know, those last weeks in the studio where everyone's kind of razor sharp, and you know, we brought in a guest player to play slide guitar on it, named Ian Thornley from a band called Big Wreck here in Canada, who's just an absolute monster guitar player. And he comes in for the solo, and it's just kind of a boot-stomping rock and roll tune.
All right. Well, Jeremy, I'm really looking forward to seeing you guys out on the road when you get here in May, and want to wish you all the luck and success, and you guys are welcome back on Rock and Metal Revival anytime.
Awesome. Thanks so much, guys.
To catch the whole show of Rock and Metal Revival, all you have to do is check it out on these affiliates. Mega Rock Radios on Saturdays from 11 a.m. Eastern Time, and on Uncontrolled Noise Tuesdays at 1 a.m., Thursdays at 8 p.m. Eastern Time, and on Saturday nights at 7 p.m. Eastern on uncontrollednoise.com. And make sure that you leave them a message and tell them that you found Rock and Metal Revival on their stations. Enjoy this edition of Rock and Metal Revival.